From the ground, this is nothing. Black rock to the horizon. A dead lava field on the flank of a volcano, in a country of heat and silence. No walls you would notice, no doors, no reason to stop, but climb 500 feet into the air, and the nothing becomes architecture. Stone rectangles longer than city blocks, thousands of them older than the pyramids. Their builders filled their chambers with skulls, walled the doorways shut, and walked away. Why would anyone raise monuments across an area the size of Poland, like for cattle skulls, only to seal every door behind them? For 100 years, the story of civilization had a map. It began between rivers, the Nile, the Euphrates, where farms made surplus, surplus made cities, cities made temples. Arabia was the blank between chapters, a crossing desert, a place you survived on the way to somewhere else. The logic was sound. Monuments take organized labor. Organized labor takes farmland. The desert had neither. In 1927, a Royal Air Force pilot named Percy Maitland, flying the desert mail route, published an odd report. Stone shapes on the ground beneath his wings, too regular to be natural. The Bedouin already had a name for them, the works of the old men. The reports were filed away, and the map of history stayed exactly where it was, because everyone knew there was nothing in Arabia. But a few years ago, a helicopter crew began photographing one volcanic plateau in the northwest, and the blank chapter started to speak. The archaeologist in that helicopter is Hugh Thomas. For years, his team flew grid lines over Harrat Khaybar, a lava field so harsh that fresh flows will shred a boot sole. On foot, his surveyors could stand beside a wall and barely see it. Loose, dark basalt on dark basalt, knee-high. From the air, the count began. It did not stop. 110,000 ancient structures in this one county, more ancient structures than most modern cities have buildings, tombs, hunting traps, enclosures, paths, most of them on the lava itself. The strangest were the rectangles. The team calls them mustatils. More than 1,600 have been found, scattered across an area the size of Poland, and they exist nowhere else on Earth. Give or take one or two just across the Jordanian border. The largest runs past 600 meters, 6 football fields end to end. The giant of Khaybar weighs some 12,000 tons of stacked basalt, heavier than 30 loaded jumbo jets raised by hand on the side of a volcano. So the theories came: fortresses, corrals, dams to trap the rain. Here the structures stop cooperating. The mighty walls stand knee-high, full of gaps. You can step over them. The single entrance is often 30 centimeters wide, the width of a dinner plate. The surveyors could barely squeeze through, let alone a cow. They hold no water. They were never roofed, never lived in. Trenches dug around them come up empty. No homes, no hearths, no butchered bones. Whatever happened here happened in one small chamber at the head of each rectangle. The teams opened those chambers. Inside, one thing, repeated like a phrase in a dead language. The upper skulls of horned animals, cattle, goats, the odd wild gazelle. Horns still attached, no spines, no jaws, no tools, nothing else, ever. A chamber, a plain standing stone, what later Arabia would call the house of the god. Around it, the skulls of the herd's most valuable animals, offered with the horns still on. The excavators chose their word carefully, and the word was ritual. A sanctuary, in a land where sanctuaries were not supposed to exist for thousands of years yet. If that holds, the birthplace map of organized religion has to be redrawn. But in structure, after excavated structure, the teams keep meeting one further detail, easy to miss, impossible to forget. When the offerings ended, the builders did not simply leave. They came back with stone. They blocked the entrance. They walled the doorway shut. The question was never what the mustatils were for. The question is why their own builders killed them. Stand in the courtyard as it was, on a spring morning around 5,300 years before Christ. A line of people walks between the long walls. Herders, families, dust to the knee, driving a black bull ahead of them. The bull is their wealth. Milk, blood, calves, standing, a walking inheritance. At the head chamber, the animal is slaughtered. The meat is shared out. The fire burns down. The head goes inside, carried low, horns first, set down beside the standing stone. They give the stone the one thing their lives depend on. The doorway is walled shut behind it. The people walk back out into the land, and the chamber goes dark for 7,000 years. The next person to kneel in that darkness is an archaeologist named Melissa Kennedy, east of Al-Oola, lifting the offerings out one by one. 260 fragments, every single one from the upper skull of a horned animal. The pattern holds, structure after structure, like a rule everyone knew. In the sand beside the monument, her team found something else. Human bones. A man, 30 to 40 years old. His skeleton in fragments placed against the dead structure centuries after its doorway was sealed. Not a burial, as we know burials. Pieces. Why, nobody can say. Perhaps a claim on territory, perhaps memory. The honest answer is that no one knows. Every practical explanation for these structures had already failed. Now the only human in the story arrives as a handful of broken bone, in a monument that was already ancient when he was laid there. What the chamber gives the lab is this: horn keratin for radiocarbon, buried quartz holding the light of the last day it saw the sun. One escape hatch remained for the doubters. Maybe the skulls are late. Maybe herders reused ruins that were already old, and the dates mean nothing. So the team ran 2 clocks against each other. Radiocarbon from the horn itself, and the buried quartz. Grains that record the last moment they saw daylight. 2 methods. No shared assumptions. The same answer. Around 7,300 years old. More than 2,000 years before the first pyramid rose in Egypt. The dates are locked. The skulls are real. The sealed doors are real. Which changes the question one final time. They were not abandoned, they were retired. Look again at everything you have seen. The blocked doorway was never desertion. It was the last act of care. A sanctuary finished its work, so it was thanked with the herd's finest heads, sealed like a coffin lid, and laid to rest in the land that raised it. The builders did not flee these structures. They closed them, deliberately, respectfully, one by one, the way a people closes a grave. So the broken human bones stopped being random. Centuries on, someone still carried their dead to these silent rectangles, because everyone still knew the old stones were holy. The monument outlived its own religion and was still being honored. There is one more thing the rock was hiding. Run the climate back 7,000 years, and the desert itself disappears. The rains reach further north. Lakes stand in the hollows. Rivers run in the wadis, and grass covers the plains of western Arabia. The land of the mustatils was not a wasteland. It was pasture. Good country, crowded with herds rich enough to feed the families who hauled 12,000 tons of basalt for their god. The team that mapped them wrote that this may be one of the world's earliest and largest ritual landscapes. So the image that opened this story was wrong in the most beautiful way. Nobody built madness in a desert. They built a cathedral landscape on a grassland. The desert did not come first. The desert came after, The rains failed, the lakes sank, the grass died, and the herders followed the water out. The congregation left, the cathedral stayed. So fly it one more time, at dawn now. Black rock to the horizon. The rectangles surface out of the shadow one by one like the ribs of something vast and patient. From the ground, it is still nothing. From the air, it is an answer that waited 7,000 years for somebody to ask. We thought civilization had a birthplace, and that we knew the address. A volcano in Arabia disagrees. The counting has not stopped. South of Khaybar, dozens of new shapes have just been spotted from the air. Structures the researchers nicknamed jagged bells. Nobody knows what they are. Nobody knows how old. The map is still pretending to be empty, and somewhere out there, it is lying. This was not even the first time the order ran backwards. In the hills of Turkey, hunter-gatherers raised a temple before anyone planted a field. Göbekli Kahrahan. We have walked those stones. They are waiting for you on this channel. I'm June, and this has been The Hour, where we keep a light on for the things the world let itself forget.